Hi everyone, welcome to Leisrealtalk. Sorry for the late start. I was trying to figure out if a video that I want to play for you has copyright issue. I don't know. I'd love to play it, but who knows? Chris is checking out. Okay, let's get started. China's 40 years of economic reforms have changed a lot of people and many things. However, some things remain unchanged. That's people's mindset and thinking. Uh, Many are still communists at heart, despite their very westernized appearances. Over the past 40 years, many Chinese have accumulated significant wealth. Some have had the opportunity to study in the West. Today, we'll discuss if wealth and a Western education have transformed some of China's elites into a genteel class. I don't know how to say that in English. That's a French word, genteel class. Anyway, I get my words all mixed up in my mind right now. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. So recently, a heated dialogue or conversation between a Chinese lawyer and Al Jazeera's Mehdi Hasan. I think the journalist's name is Mehdi Hasan. Uh, the heated conversation went viral, and the Chinese lawyer is Victor Gao. Hold on, let me add to the stage. Here's a picture of him. And so I don't know, you probably have already seen the video. I watched it last night. It was riveting to watch, I should say. Anyways, so he was the former translator interpreter for Deng Xiaoping. He is currently the VP of the Center for China and Globalization, which is a Chinese think tank based in Beijing. The organization claims itself as a non-government affiliated, but people think it's impossible to have a think tank in China that's not government, that's not backed by Beijing. But Victor Gao is based in UK and is a loyal supporter of the Chinese government. His conversation with the Al Jazeera's host it shows the mind and thinking of a Western-educated Chinese elite. And so that's what I want to first talk about. And then during the second half, I want to discuss how Evergrande's founder, Xu Jiayin, is still able to control his crumbling business empire while in detention. So first things first, let me see what does Chris say? Do we have copyright? Do we have copyright issue, Chris, here? Yes or no? I don't know. Okay. Well, let me play it, even at the risk of losing ad revenue, which I have not had good luck. What does Chris say? No copy issue. Okay, so good. I'm happy to hear that. So let me play that video for you. I only want to play you the first 5 minutes because it's quite long, but you get an idea.
It's going up by 7.
Hold on. Oh, this is not the beginning. Is that the beginning? It's okay.
China in 2024, the defense spending is going up by 7%, the most for 5 years. You've had 29 consecutive years of military expenditure growth, the most of any country in the world. Since 2022, China has increased military drills around Taiwan. It's escalated since the new Taiwanese president was inaugurated in May. China is not a fan of him. Since then, there's been almost daily activity involving China's warships, drones, cyber attacks against Taiwan. China is getting ready to invade Taiwan, isn't it?
There is only one China. Taiwan is part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legitimate government for the totality of China. The exact status between the two sides of the Taiwan Strait is the unfinished civil war back in 1949. So ever since the beginning of the 1980s,
Okay.
China does not want to use a war to solve this unification problem.
You don't want to use a war, but you're surrounding it with ships, drones, cyber attacks, and making lots of threats.
Each time when the separatists in Taiwan want to push the edge of the envelope, they will come across more and more demonstration of the commitment of the Chinese nation to eventually achieve peaceful reunification or otherwise.
Your defense minister said anyone who dares to pursue independence for Taiwan will be crushed into pieces and face destruction. Sounds like a truly peaceful guy.
That's a real statement, because if the separatists really want to push the edge of the envelope with the aid of some big country, for example, which wants to use Taiwan as a proxy in its own geopolitical rivalry against China, then wait until you see what will happen. Reunification will be achieved, and China is the only permanent member of the United Nations Security Council which has not yet achieved a complete reunification.
I'm always amused with this phrase reunification, because if it's one China, then clearly it's not one China. Clearly you're accepting by definition if you need to reunify it. They are doing their own thing. And why this obsession with Taiwan? You are a country of 3.7 million square miles, a population 60 times that of Taiwan, economy 20 times the size of Taiwan. Why are you obsessed with Taiwan? Why not just leave them be?
In terms of defending China's sovereignty and territorial integrity, any inch of land is not 1 inch too much. Any one single person is not one person too many. So we need to achieve reunification.
Even though they don't want to be part of your country. 12% of the people of Taiwan say they want to reunify with China. 12%. You can't get more unpopular than that in that.
Mehdi, it's not up to the people in Taiwan to decide about the one China policy.
You're very blunt in your disregard for people's views, freedoms, dignity. You say you don't care about what they think. You also said in an interview with the French newspaper Le Monde, once we get the island back, we'll have to ask everyone's origins. Those who have Japanese ancestry, who you basically say constitute 10% of the population, will have to pledge loyalty to reunification in writing, otherwise we'll have to help them leave. You're basically calling for the ethnic cleansing of 2.3 million people in Taiwan.
No, you remember back in 1945, when Japan unconditionally surrendered, a lot of people in Taiwan who originally came from Japan, they were the rulers of Taiwan at the time, they stayed behind because of the magnanimity of the Chinese nation. Now, several decades later, they account for about 10% of the local population in Taiwan. Now, if you really do your homework, you will realize that those die-hard Taiwanese separatists include many of these Japanese Chinese.
But okay. Well, but you would get rid of them. You would get rid of 2.3 million people.
No, after the reunification, everyone in Taiwan need to make a pledge whether they acknowledge there is only one China and Taiwan is part of China.
And if they don't make that pledge, they're out.
Those who pledge for the one China policy, they are local citizens.
By the way, you didn't say everyone. You said of Japanese descent. That is literally ethnic cleansing. You're picking people by their ethnic heritage, making them do a loyalty test. Otherwise, they have to get out of the country they've lived in.
It is not a loyalty test. Here, for example, in Britain, if you are a British citizen, you need to support the monarchy. You cannot say,
I'm standing in Britain. I don't support the monarchy. I don't like King Charles.
No, you cannot say. No,
I just said it.
Mehdi,
I literally just said it.
You cannot take any action to oppose the monarchy system.
But I don't have to sign a pledge saying I support King Charles.
Well, each country is different. We are talking about China.
China is very different. Let's talk human rights, Victor. You've called Uyghurs in China's Xinjiang province your brothers and sisters.
Okay. All right. You can watch the video on your own. It's very, very interesting. So this guy, what I want to say is, he is, I don't know, he's well educated and successful by both Chinese and Western standards, right? He holds a BA, Bachelor of Arts in English Literature from Beijing University of International Studies, and earned a JD from Yale Law School. And after law school, he worked as a corporate lawyer in a law firm in New York City. He also served as a VP at Morgan Stanley in Hong Kong, and also as a senior VP at CNOOC Limited, which is a major Chinese state-owned oil company. So the man is smart and eloquent. His mannerism is smooth and westernized. He's very knowledgeable about UK politics and knows how to use that to defend Beijing. I mean, if you watch the full clip, you'll see that in this short clip, you already see he mentioned, the monarchy. But his mindset and thinking is very CCP-ish. What troubled me was his lack of respect for other human beings and their feelings. You will see that if you watch the later parts. He's smart, successful, but cold-hearted. People like him have been. There are many people like him in China, by the way. They have been programmed to do the right thing, to say the right thing, to get ahead. And their value system is based on what's acceptable to their superior and what's good for them and for their inner circles. I watched the video last night and I had one question. I kept thinking about it for a long time. The question is, does he actually believe what he said? Or was he just acting? If he actually believes what he said, that means his Yale education was a waste of time and money, in my opinion, and his corporate America experience didn't do much to him. And I think it's really pathetic if he actually believes everything he said. But the other situation is if he doesn't believe what he says, and he's acting. Because he can't say what he believes and must deliver a politically correct narrative to hold on to his status. You can watch the whole clip to make your decision, but I still want to do a survey here. So the question is, do you believe Victor Gao? Do you think Victor Gao believes what he said, or is just acting? So vote yes if you think he does believe what he says, and vote 2 if you think he's acting. And I will continue while you vote. So I doubt he's acting, because if you watch the whole clip, I think he actually believes what he said. So it shows you Western education and work experience don't necessarily change a mainland Chinese perspective, particularly when they are still affiliated with the CCP. And it doesn't matter if you live in the West or not, because this guy, I think, lives in the West. And there are many people like that. And the second example I want to show you is the Chinese real estate tycoon, the founder of the infamous Evergrande. His name is Xu Jiayin. Now, unlike Victor Gao, Xu is not well educated. I don't believe he attended college. China's economic reforms, however, have taught him a great deal about capital market and how to maneuver capitals. And he has shamelessly taken advantage of capitals to his advantage in a way that no other Western capitalists have done. So what I want to tell you is that even though he has been in detention since last September, he's still able to control his empire. Evergrande in Chinese means forever large, and the company has indeed lived up to that name. The founder envisioned the company to expand indefinitely through borrowing money. As of 2023, the company's total liabilities stood at 2.4 trillion yuan, which is over 300. It's about 350 billion US dollars. And the company has lost 80 million yuan in 2021 and 2022, which is a number that's larger than the GDP of Hainan province. In the fall of 2021, Evergrande announced that the company will veer off from its real estate path and focus on EV, auto industry. And the company has 2 auto subsidiaries. One is China Evergrande New Energy Vehicle Group, and the other is Evergrande Intelligent New Energy Vehicle. The former is listed on Hong Kong's stock exchange. Recently, this company has been forced into bankruptcy reorganization by its creditors. I'm going to tell you the story. It was an eye-opening. It was unbelievable because it revealed how ruthless China's business elites can be. So Evergrande's, let's just talk about Evergrande's bankruptcy reorg. This company's total, Evergrande, it's called Evergrande New Energy Auto, right? Its total assets amount to 35 billion yuan, while its total liabilities are 72.5 billion yuan, which is about 10 billion US dollars. You divide by 7. So of these liabilities, about 26.5 billion is in loans, most of which are secured debts, which are generally backed by the company's assets. Now, these debts will have a priority in the order of repayment to its creditors. The next level debts include unpaid wages, taxes, and so on. And then, followed by unsecured debts, such as unpaid bills to suppliers, rent, and so forth. So the secured debts of Evergrande Auto alone amount to about 26 million yuan. Well, divided by 7, it's about a little under 400, a little under 4 billion yuan, $4 billion. No, I'm sorry, $4 billion. Now, bankruptcy reorganization doesn't aim to shut down the company. Rather, it offers a final opportunity for the company to survive. The operations of the company continue. But because its management and creditors cannot come to an agreement, then they get the court to be involved to mediate a reorg plan. In Evergrande's auto company's case, it was the creditors who proposed the plan because there were significant issues with the company's debt repayment order, which harmed the creditors' interests. And this issue couldn't be resolved through normal communication, and therefore the creditors proposed a bankruptcy reorganization to challenge the debt repayment order. So the crux of the matter is the most dramatic part of the situation is not the company's insolvency, but the fact that the founder, Xu Jiayin himself, is actually one of the company's main creditors. Essentially, Xu is his own creditor, an arrangement that sounds convoluted but serves his interests in the end. So the consequence of this is that when repaying debts, as we mentioned, priority is given to paying the creditors of secured debts. That means Xu Jiayin would pay himself back. But you would say, well, does that defeat the purpose of paying himself back? In fact, being his own creditor, Xu can legally secure and transfer his assets to a safer place. So how did he manage to do this? Xu transformed Evergrande Auto into a controlled entity and issued 1.8 billion in offshore debt, making himself Evergrande's offshore creditor. When the company repays its debt, the money can be legally and seamlessly transferred overseas. Following the collapse of Evergrande Group and Evergrande Real Estate, Evergrande Auto remains one of the last relatively valuable assets, and the responsibility for debt repayment falls on this company. So Xu's position as a top-tier creditor ensures that he benefits first when the company is profitable, and if the company fails, he can join the collective negotiation of creditors, ensuring the final resolution favors him. So, of course, for this scenario to unfold, he has been laying the groundwork for a long time. over the past 10 years, he transferred many assets and claims to his wife's name. The couple divorced in 2022, and his wife's name is Ding Yumei. So she naturally took all those assets with her when she moved abroad. I think she's living somewhere else. She's not living in China. So legally, she is no longer related to the Xu family or to Xu Jiayin. So she can now claim debts from Evergrande's various subsidiaries under her own name, and effectively helping the family preserve their wealth. So in essence, the fake divorce helped transfer assets. But it's still possible that other creditors have a priority level similar to Xu's. And what if they also make claims on the company's limited assets? Well, there's another dramatic twist. In February this year, Xu's ex-wife, Ding Yumei, filed a lawsuit in Hong Kong against their son for not repaying the 1.05 billion Hong Kong dollar on time as per their agreement. This maneuver left everyone baffled. People didn't understand why, the mother sued her son. People were wondering, could the Xu family be desperate for money? Then the truth quickly surfaced. During the case proceedings, the 1 billion Hong Kong dollar was frozen. It suddenly all made sense to people. This was to prevent other creditors from claiming the remaining funds, ensuring that the money was temporarily safeguarded. Although they couldn't access the money, the legal case prevented the other creditors from accessing it as well, too. So in a way, they kept the money untouched, at least for the time being. So who exactly is the creditor pushing for the restructuring of Evergrande Auto's debts this time? The official announcement said certain creditors. So my guess is that it's likely that other creditors who have become desperate because they worry that Xu's ex-wife might repeat her legal maneuver in Hong Kong. So they preemptively pushed for the company's restructuring. And the key part of the restructuring will be to reassess the priority order of the secured debt repayments. What I want to say is, even though Xu Jiayin is locked up, the authorities can't squeeze much money out of him. On the contrary, he can use the amount of debt repayment as leverage to negotiate a shorter prison sentence. And so he still has some control over the situation. If negotiations break down and the situation blows up, banks and downstream suppliers, a large group of people, right, will be affected. So the fact that he is being detained for 10 months without any news shows that the authorities are still wary of the consequences. But as the process drags on, things may get out of control. Now, Evergrande Auto is one of the few quality assets left in the Evergrande Group, only because the EV industry is one of Xi Jinping's priorities. China Evergrande is the largest shareholder in Evergrande Auto. It holds about 58.5% of its equity. So it's essentially owned by Evergrande Group. In May, Evergrande Auto's stock was temporarily suspended in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange because the price jumped 70%. There were rumors of a mysterious buyer willing to take over, which raised hopes among shareholders and creditors. But it turned out to be the same old trick they play, releasing good news, driving up Evergrande Auto's stock price, then shorting the stock and selling it at a high, only to buy it back after the price when the price fell again. So the single wave of news allowed them to profit. Although it's unclear whether Evergrande was behind the stock maneuver, even if they weren't directly involved, the short sellers likely borrowed stocks from them, meaning that they still participated in the profit sharing. So behind the scenes, they were still pulling the strings. But the rumored buyer never came forward, and people eventually realized that it was a fake story to exploit them. And other creditors have been waiting for a year, but with no buyer in sight. So they've lost patience. The other creditors thus acted and filing for a bankruptcy restructuring. So, I mean, this is just a case study to show you how China's 40 years of economic reforms created wealth and a whole class of Chinese capitalists, many of whom are conniving, like Evergrande's founder. It has also nurtured some Western educated scholars or experts like Victor Gao. These people have money, understand the capital market very well. Some of them also understands the West very well, right? In the case of Victor. But under the CCP's rule, they still act like a communist. They have no respect for anyone else other than their inner circles and their friends and families. And there are many of them. And this is the group of people. This group of people, in my opinion, are heartless, right? They may, in essence, in appearance or in demeanor, you could say, like Victor Gao is very westernized. He speaks, perfect English, and he knows how to debate with a Western journalist, and he has some very good points. I mean, from his perspective, but it's at deep down, his entire mindset and his thinking is just like CCP. Because they're heartless. They have no respect for anyone else other than themselves. And this is the group of people the West have been dealing with. So what I want to say is the conversation that Victor Gao had with Mehdi Hasan would be unthinkable before 2020. It would never happen. It would never have happened. But now people are seeing in real life what these Chinese elites actually think. So I think it's a great thing. At least we know, what's in their mind. So this is what I have for today. I want to know how people have voted. Can someone tell me the voting results? Can someone tell me 1, 2? Someone tell me the voting results. Yeah, I only showed you the first 5 minutes, which I think is very interesting. But later on, it gets more interesting and more heated and animated. But he kept his composure. He was not. I mean, the journalist was a little animated. I mean, to do his job, he had to. But this Chinese lawyer was, kept his composure, and but it was interesting to see how he responded to those questions. All right, let me see. 164 votes, 51-49. Wow, we're even Steven. Half and half. So just slightly more people believe he actually believes that, and fewer people, it's almost even. 50-50 now. Hiroshi Nagoya said, oh, it's 50-50 now. 50 now it's going the other way. 51 believe he's acting. Not enough information to judge. Well, I mean, that's why I didn't give you a third option. I mean, this is just your gut feeling. I mean, if you watch the whole video, you will have a sense. You will have a sense. After watching the whole video, I think he's not acting. He actually hold those views. It's actually what he believes in. That's my feeling. Not enough information. Okay, all right. Okay, that's all. That's all. Any questions for me? I just thought the Evergrande case study was fascinating, but not in a good way. It just, but I know he's not alone. There are a lot of Chinese capitalists, billionaires who, went through a fake divorce to protect their asset. I don't think that would happen here in the West. Do you think any Western billionaire would go through a fake divorce just to protect their assets? I mean, of course, here you don't have the government coming after you, coming after your assets. So you don't need to protect it that way. In China, I guess you have to, right? I mean, the government is so formidable, it ultimately pushed people. I mean, here, billionaires wouldn't do that because they don't know what if the woman runs off with the money, right? I don't think they would do that. But in China, the government is so formidable, it would almost push the couple together to work together to battle the government. So therefore, they would be together against the government. All right, let's see. More about protection against the spouse here. Brian Smith, love you, Lei, and thanks. Well, thank you, Brian. They would have a prenup. I don't think so. I think when they got married, there was no prenup. I mean, Chinese don't believe in prenup. I mean, nowadays they probably do, but back then they didn't. So Jerry Watson, do you think in the wake of the CCP crashing, the CEO of Evergrande would end up as leader of China if he promises economic restoration of the country? I don't think so. And I don't think people want him to be running China. I mean, there's so many people who are resentful of the fact that he has not delivered the real estate that people bought. So no, people don't want him to run China. No, I don't think so. All right. Okay. Jonathan Doe, does the average Chinese person think like Victor? A lot of them do. Sadly, a lot of them do. And those who do not are afraid to speak up. And so after a while, they may force themselves to think in the right direction, in the direction that the government has pointed. So it's almost like you self-censorship, right? You practice self-censorship. So there are a lot of people who think like that. And there are a lot of well-educated Chinese, Western, in the West who think like Victor Gao. There are a lot. I personally know a lot of them. Yeah. It's hard to understand them. Sometimes you wonder, what has happened to your Western education? Do you really don't get it? I have a hard time understanding them. So, Nick Fury, does mainland immigrant to the West have a loyalty issue to the host nation where they resided? You mean are they still loyal to mainland China, or are you to where they I don't think so, because if they do, then why do they leave China? Why do they risk their life to to go through South America, to to cross the border illegally to come here? They are those people. I mean, a significant of them are not happy with their life in China, so there's no loyalty issue. That's my gut feeling. Mitsu, do you think Victor would look the other way on domestic abuse of a female colleague, given this attitude of a friend of his was doing the abuse? I think he would look the other way. Yeah. What troubles me is, I mean, people can have different political views, right? But in his case, it's not so much, it's a different political view. His entire attitude is the communist system is more important than anything or anyone else. Nothing else matters as much as what the party thinks, what the system. I mean, he didn't use the word party, but the system. That's what he thinks is the ultimate factor that decides everything, everyone's future, everyone's well-being. That decides everything, which is which is the mindset a lot of mainland Chinese hold. They think, because this is the idea the CCP has instilled in their mind. And I think a lot of Westerners have that mindset too. And they have been saying, well, China is such a large country and we have such vast land and there are different ethnicities, and Chinese are very, we were poor and Chinese are very difficult to run given the historical reasons. So if it weren't for the CCP, nobody would be able to govern China. It's just a very challenging job, and we're trying to do the best. We're not perfect, but we're trying the best we can. And nobody would have done it better than we do. That's the narrative it has been using, and a lot of people buy into that. And therefore, when you accept that, then they will say, therefore, because no one else could have done this better than we do, then making sure the system or the party is in place, intact, is the number one priority. Because if you break down the party, then you wouldn't have a country. Our people will suffer even more. Because that's the entire, I mean, I talk to Westerners who actually believe that. They think CCP has done a tremendous job, I don't know where they get that idea. If you allow the Kuomintang to run China, I think any political party in Taiwan, if you allow them to run China, China will be so much better than what it is today. Chinese people will live a much better life than what they're having today. Anyone would do a better job than the CCP. It's the other way around. So, but somehow the world has accepted that narrative, and they have delivered it very smoothly. Oh, we're not perfect. They always say that. I say, we're not perfect, but we're trying our best. Please give us a chance. Not when you're murdering people. So, all right. Ray Talaward. Do you think there are a lot of little pinks deliberately infiltrating other countries to spy for China? You mean physically or online, virtually? Virtually, yes, they're everywhere. Didn't I do a short talking about, I might have already done that. It might have been released. China employ millions of inmates to do that. So if they pose a number of comments, I mean, they're rewarded by the number of comments they post. And then once they accumulate, I don't know, it's a huge number. I don't know, tens of thousands of no, hundreds of thousands of comments, and their prison term get reduced by, I think, a couple of months. Yeah. So so China has millions of inmates. So they're working very hard, posting comments. So you cannot argue with them. You can never win. All right, Ed C, you are now a Westerner. Am I? Am I a Westerner? I don't look like one. All right. Okay, to those, yeah. So for a lot of us a lot of immigrants who come to live in this country, I think we have identity crisis. And I remember when I was in my 20s, I listened to the chancellor of UC Berkeley. I think he was an educator. He was a guy from Taiwan. He was the chancellor of UC Berkeley. And he said something that struck me. And I always remember that. And that has been what I've been trying to do. And he said he taught his children who was born here. He said, when you are with Chinese, you should behave like Chinese. When you are with Americans, you should behave like Americans. It would be a problem if your Chinese friend think you are a Westerner, think that you are American, and your American friends think you are a Chinese. And I thought it was so well said. I think I was only in my 20s when I heard that. So yeah, so I try to be very Chinese when I'm with my Chinese friends, and American when I'm with my American friends. Hopefully I've done that well. I don't know. You guys can tell me. All right, I think that's all. That's all I will say. How's that? I don't get any questions. Oh, here's one from Hirome Eyesore. Madam, kindly share the joining link. Oh yeah. Oh, Chris, can you copy paste the link? I forgot. Yes, I will. Chris will. This link has the Chinese subtitles. You could also Google it, and it's also on Al I forgot the name. It's Al Jazeera's website. I mean YouTube channel, but the one that I will paste has Chinese subtitles, so you can actually share that with your Chinese family or friends who don't speak English. I found that to be helpful. All right, that's all. That's all for today. Chris, can you paste the link in the description? Thank you. I'll see you next time. All right. Al Jazeera English, yes. How do you look so beautiful? Every video, I don't think I look beautiful in this video because I don't know how to do these lighting. It's a struggle because every time I have to move everything 180 degrees and I put up this lighting according to my memory of where I used to put it. So I look different every time. Sometimes I'm amazed how other people can look great on camera. And my friends have been telling me that I look better in person. My video don't do me service. So when you say I look great, that's not how I feel. So when I went to Vietnam and met a fan, he actually said the same thing. He said, you look better in person, and you look younger in person. And my other people I knew said the same thing. So I don't know. It has to do with moving the lights around and moving everything around last minute. But it's okay. This show is not about how Lei looks like. It's about what Lei says, right? So I'm happy. So, all righty. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.